we have been collecting lots of pictures and videos from you, our viewers, as we weather this storm together. Joshua Solder is in a high-rise in Atlantic City, a few blocks from the boardwalk, and he sent us this video this afternoon.
There's no boardwalk left. The boardwalk is gone. This is all the boardwalk. That's the pavilion that's still there. That's all gone. All gone.
And as Hurricane Sandy moved through, we ask that you share your photographs and videos of the storm with us here at Action News, but we urge you to do it safely. All you have to do is upload them to 6abc.com, or you can email them or text your photos to send it at 6abc.com. We will be using them throughout our coverage. We continue in just this way. We'll continue in just a moment.
Closed captioning sponsored by Fulton.
Access, I'm sure it was
access to birth control. Man and Trivedi.
Seattle City about a half an hour ago, and you can see that really the torrential rain, the heaviest bands of rain, all well to the east and the north of the center. So this is all moved ashore. We're getting a bit of a break in the action. You can see that it's beginning to refill in from the back. So we will be getting some additional bands of rain, but the real torrential rain is beginning to push east out of our viewing area. So Storm Tracker 6 live right now showing that the heaviest rain is over Lancaster County near Harrisburg. Philadelphia, you have light rain. Reading, you have light rain. And this also coincides with the highest wind gusts at this point. We're looking at the highest wind gusts in Lancaster. So it will continue to push to the east. So the storm system is not over. It will be lingering. Once it moves over land, it interacts with the land. It causes friction, so it does slow things down. So we will be seeing additional rain. But again, these are the rainfall amounts. And you can see that Delaware and South Jersey really took it on the chin. Rehoboth reporting more than 8 inches of rain. Dover, Delaware, 6.32. West Cape May coming at 7.8 inches. Deerfield, 5.14. And Philadelphia, not nearly as high as Delaware and South Jersey, but still a lot of rain, 2.44 inches. Wind gusts so far show Tuckerton, Ocean County, New Jersey, reporting a wind gust of 88 miles per hour. Harvey Cedars, 75 mile per hour winds. Atlantic City reporting a wind gust of 77. Northeast Philadelphia 70, and Philadelphia very strong winds, 54 mile per hour winds. Now the wave heights show you that we're still dealing with that storm surge really battering the beaches. You've seen the photos. The barrier islands are covered right now. Very close to Atlantic City, we're looking at wave heights about 16 feet. You get north of Atlantic City, wave heights around 20 feet. So this is causing all of that storm surge, all of that water to go over the land, and that is beginning to push to the east, and that will begin to subside, but it's going to take a while. So for more on the coastal flooding, more on what to go from here on, let's head over to Adam Joseph. Adam.
Yeah, and Cecily, that high tide is coming in the next couple of hours for the shore communities, and then inland along the bay and the river.
More on.
Tonight.
No. Wait, you need mine? You got it?
Well, every now and then, never mind. Anyway, because as I was saying, we still have a couple of hours before we do see the max high tide, which is at 8 o'clock right along the shore communities in the Delaware Bay and the river. It comes in right after the midnight hour. So as Cecily was alluding to, with those wave heights that are some 15+ feet crashing onto the shore, there still will be major tidal flooding. Even though the eye has made landfall, the tides are still coming up, and it's a full moon. So that is exacerbating the situation down at the shore communities and also in the Back Bay. So we're far from over from seeing the worst of the coastal flooding, despite the storm has made landfall. Here are those high tide times. This is when we will see the worst flooding during the entire event. In Atlantic City at 8 o'clock tonight, Cape May at 8:34, Rehoboth at 8:11, Reedy Point at just about the midnight hour, and then in Philadelphia, 2:22 in the morning. They're expecting that tide to be 9 or 10 feet above the normal along the Delaware River, where Sarah Bloomquist has been reporting for. She's saying the streets are dry now as respect with some of the water from the river, but that will change as we go into the evening hours. Here's Future Tracker 6. Again, we're still seeing heavy bands of rain at 11 o'clock as that system Sandy, the center of it, moves south of Philadelphia. The radar will fill back in, and these bands will start to wrap around Sandy. That will continue into the early morning hours. Future tracker at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Seeing a little bit of a drying. There you see the heaviest to the west, but watch what happens during the day. It kind of fills back in here and there, and by in the afternoon it gets a little more spotty, but the winds are going to continue not only tonight but throughout the day tomorrow. So the timing on the wind over the next 24 hours, if you still have power and you're watching us, great. If you're listening to us on a radio, one of the radio stations, because we have lost power, at least you're still getting us in that sort of media outlet. But over the next 24 hours, you could still lose power through 2 in the morning because gusts will still go between 50 and 80. This is far from over, despite it did make landfall. Between 2 in the morning and 8 tomorrow morning, gusts could still between 30 and 50. And tomorrow, in the entire day, still gusts 30 to 40. Everything will be so weak by that point. A 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gust could still knock trees down. That could knock out some power. So what to expect after this landfall? The strongest winds until 2 in the morning. It will still be gusty tomorrow. We're still looking at about a ½ inch to an inch of rain north and east of Philadelphia, south and west of Philadelphia, Delaware, southern New Jersey, between 1 and 3 inches of rain on top of already 5 to 8 inches of rain. So there will be still some creek and river and stream flooding throughout the day tomorrow. Jim, when we come back, we'll assess some of the new information coming in and see if we have any new wind speeds that have come in from the National Weather Service as well to pass along to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Adam. Action News reporter David Henry is live at a potential trouble spot, always in a situation where there is ever a lot of rain, and that is the Darby Creek. David, what's the situation there now?
Well, Jim, of course, you remember Hurricane Floyd back in 1999, and that is exactly what they are fearing may happen again here. This bridge over McDade Boulevard over the Darby Creek back here was replaced since that storm to allow more water to pass under it. But as you can see, the water level has risen to the bottom of the bridge, and debris is starting to pile up behind it. Now, here's what they fear could happen later tonight if the water keeps rising. About 3 blocks upstream, they cleared away a stand of trees so they could remove an old dam. Now, all those logs are sitting on the side of the creek bed, and they fear if the water rises high enough, it'll carry those logs down here, turn them into battering rams, and then they could all jam under this bridge and cause a real problem. The other situation is, we heard Adam talking about the high tides. Well, if those tides come up the Delaware River and you get a bit of a storm surge, that puts a cork in this creek, and basically everything backs up from there to 26 miles upstream. And all that debris coming downstream right now is coming from as far away as Chester County. So very nervous situation here in Darby as the wind starts picking up. We're getting some very strong gusts here. Let me show you what this right here. This was an advertising sign. It was a piece of vinyl that was covering here. It's completely blown out. Now there's another one right over here that's catching the wind sideways, and you can see how that is flapping around right now. So we're starting to get some very strong gusts here, but the good news is the rain is lighter. It's blowing pretty well. It's still coming down, but not as strong as it was before. So they're hoping that this rising stream back here will start leveling off, easing the danger of all those logs coming down. So we're going to keep an eye on it and keep you posted throughout the evening. Live in Darby, David Henry, Channel 6 Action News. Jim?
Thank you, David. A couple of comments to #6ABC Sandy, Creek on Varee Road in Philadelphia, Pennypack Park, and then one that I really liked. You may be able to break windows, Sandy, but you may not break spirits. Let's get a look now at some of the effects of Sandy along the Jersey Shore. Action News was in Atlantic City here at Pacific and Vermont Avenues. You can see some of the beach erosion caused by the high winds and surf pounding the shoreline, and we do say relentlessly, and conditions are quickly deteriorating in Seaside Heights. The surf is creeping ever closer to the boardwalk, and the pier is being battered by strong waves, winds, and rain. And what's hard to believe is that we are still, no, we are not. I was going to say we are still some hours away from Sandy's landfall, but to take you behind the scenes a little bit, that story was written a couple of hours ago. In fact, landfall has arrived. Landfall is here. Let's switch live now to Action News reporter John Rollins in Wilmington, Delaware. John, there has been so much focus on shore communities that people might forget a little bit that places like Wilmington and Philadelphia and some of the inland areas have tremendous challenges on their hands, and obviously that's true for Wilmington, Delaware.
Right, and it's all in the future, though, at this point. It's very gentle. It's almost a gentle rain falling right now. It's been a quiet day here in Wilmington up till now, but we all know Sandy is headed this way. You can take a look right now. We'd had some wind here blowing earlier, but if you look at the trees, it's awfully dark, but if you look at the trees and at a structure here that belongs to a local restaurant down here by the Christiana River, it's very quiet. But everybody knows it's going to change, and people are prepared here. They remember Floyd, they remember Irene last year, so they've taken a lot of preemptive steps. They've closed roads here in some areas. They've ordered evacuations in Newcastle County, all on a preemptive measure because they know those are low-lying areas and they will be problematic in the next few hours as Sandy moves west. At this point, though, as you can see, it's a pretty gentle Sandy. However, I think she's going to bare her fangs here pretty soon in the next 4 to 8 hours, according to the folks in the Weather Bureau there, that that's going to be problematic and we're going to have problems here, but everybody has their fingers crossed and are hoping for the best right now. Live in Wilmington, John Rollins, Channel 6 Action News. Jim?
Thank you so much, John. We're going to go live now to Action News reporter Kenneth Moten, who is in Burlington Township, New Jersey. Kenneth, what are you seeing there?
Well, Jim, I can tell you, before I tell you about the conditions here in Burlington and also in nearby Camden County, we want to get you to some breaking news video that we just fed into the newsroom. Take a look at this video. A massive tree here on High Street fell onto the back of a home at 1207 High Street, or excuse me, I should say 1211 High Street. That tree actually belonged to the next door neighbor. That massive tree fell around 5 o'clock or so, or just after 5, and fell on a 26-year-old man. We understand he suffered a number of injuries, including some injuries to his ankle and possibly has a broken ankle. There was a lot of destruction to the back of that home, as you can see. We talked to the woman who that tree was actually in her yard. She actually watched it fall onto that man. Take a listen to what she had to say.
The tree, the ground was raising, and my husband went and knocked on the neighbor's doors to let them know the tree was going to come down, and a neighbor came out back to check out what he was talking about, and before you know it, the ground lifted higher and we started yelling and the tree came down and trapped the neighbor under it. And I was already on the phone with 911 as the ground was lifting, so they were already on their way.
What went through your mind?
I was terrified. I didn't know how bad he was trapped. I didn't know how far under the tree he was trapped. It was just his ankle, and he's in the hospital now. Hopefully he's okay.
And once again, a massitive tree fell on a 26-year-old man and a home here in Burlington City, here in Burlington County, just off of High Street, next to Route 130 here. I'm actually along Route 130 here, Jim, and I should mention that 26-year-old man once again suffered a number of injuries and suffered a broken ankle. He was taken to the hospital, and luckily this man will survive those injuries. We've been warning folks about the down power lines and down trees, and that's an example of exactly what can happen from the power of this storm Sandy. I want to take a look here off 130, and you can see here in Burlington, look at that flag up there, and the American flag just whipping right there. We're obviously not at the shore. We're about 40 to 50 miles away from the Jersey shore, but sometimes a big gust of wind comes along and it feels like we're right there on the beach as Sandy really impacts this area. As we move around this way, we don't see much traffic here on 130. But we know that people have been trying to maintain caution, and as they travel these roadways, we haven't heard of really any other major problems besides that tree that we came to cover around here. Let me wipe off the lens there. But we do know that emergency crews have been busy when it comes to just some localized flooding and making sure that it keep people off the streets and warning people in this area. We actually rode around Camden for most of the day. Earlier it was quiet, and then all of a sudden, obviously, as Sandy started to really pick up speed, things got worse in this area and the conditions really started to deteriorate. As we come back this way, I can tell you Emergency officials say they're warning people, once again, just try to stay in your home. Those people on High Street, they stayed in their home, except for that young man who decided to walk outside when he heard a noise, and then that tree fell on him. Once again, like I said, we just get some big gusts of wind here in Burlington County. We've seen the same thing in Camden County. So the conditions, Jim, we're starting to see that horizontal rain come through this area. We get these spurts where it's just really bad. And then once again, if you do go outside, stay away from those large trees. They are being uprooted, and it's really getting bad out here. I'm going to send it back to you, reporting live here in Burlington, Kenneth Moten, Channel 6 Action News.
And maybe, Kenneth, you can't tell, but we can hear the wind, the sustained wind and the wind gusts blowing. Obviously, the situation getting a little dicey in Burlington Township and in Burlington County, New Jersey. Thank you so much, Kenneth. There comes a point where we have to sort of figure out how closely we should respond to what you folks have to say on social media, on Twitter, for instance. And maybe I shouldn't even acknowledge this, but I think it's important that the folks who thought that Cecily called Adam an untoward name when Adam was having trouble with his microphone, that's not at all true. I really shouldn't even say the word. It begins with an M and it ends with an N. And then there's an O and an R and an O in there somewhere. What Cecily was saying was, do you want mine on, my microphone on? And then Adam had the chance to fix his microphone before that even became an issue. So if you thought that Cecily called Adam an untoward name, that's not the case at all. We don't do that here. We are a family. We love each other.
Yes.
You're acting like a moron. All right. We have a special programming alert for 6 ABC, I'm the moron, for 6 ABC viewers during our extended coverage of the storm. You can find the network's regularly scheduled programming on 6 ABC's digital channel 6.2, Comcast Xfinity 790, Verizon Fios 466, RCN in Philadelphia 618, and Lehigh Valley 1098. We will continue for the duration of the extended coverage of Sandy to offer these alternatives, and we'll be back in just a moment. The water continues to rise in towns up and down the Jersey Shore. This is what the streets look like in Atlantic City a short time ago. The city's 30,000 residents were under orders to evacuate, but some decided to stay, and now some may be sorry they did. An emergency team had to brave very high water on Harrisburg Avenue to rescue an elderly couple stranded in their home by floodwaters. Fortunately, their SUV was high enough and heavy enough to get it through, but a few more inches and that couple might have had to ride it out regardless. Strong winds and a saturated ground brought this tree down in South Philadelphia. This is near 9th and Shunk. You can see this gray Lexus was absolutely crushed under the weight of the tree. It's not clear if anybody was hurt in all of this, but it shows how dangerous the situation can be. Northern New Jersey is also getting slammed by Sandy. This is near the boardwalk in Asbury Park. We really should call this more central New Jersey, Ocean County, right? The storm is already causing power outages and police have closed off roads. And just like South Jersey, the surf off Asbury Park is also gaining strength. Action News reporter Allie Gorman is live in Chadds Ford tonight. Allie, you've been touring parts of Chester County. What have you seen?
That's right. And Jim, we're right off of the intersection of Route 1 and 52, and I can tell you that the rain and definitely the wind has started to pick up. Now, the main concerns in this area is, number one, the flooding, potential flooding of Brandywine Creek, and also the potential for down trees and down wires. And if you take a look at this video, you can see that crews have already been out on that roadway. They are clearing out debris. There are also parts of roadways and small bridges closed due to flooding. And as the rain continues, the conditions here are just going to get worse. Back here live, I can tell you that the roadways are slick. There is puddling and ponding. Now that it's dark outside, you can't tell when there is water on that roadway. So if you are home and you are safe, then you should stay there. If, however, there is flooding or there's a potential for flooding and you feel you need to get to a shelter, there are still shelters open. You can go to 6abc.com and you can find out information about that shelter. They'd rather have you go now than wait for conditions to get worse. So if you do need to get there, then you want to make your way there now. Don't wait, because it is going to get worse out here. That is the latest from Chadds Ford, Chester County. Reporting live, Allie Gorman. Jim, back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Allie. And as we look at a Sky 6 shot of Center City, Philadelphia, we can tell you that Philadelphia public and parochial schools are closed tomorrow. SEPTA is off as well tomorrow morning. And we'll continue with our Sandy coverage in just a moment.